Visiting it today, though, you have the chance to see a city rediscovering itself. A few years ago, you could have been shot for sitting here. The Berlin Wall ran just over there, leaving the famous Brandenburg Gate stranded in the middle of no man's land. Today, the gate is a symbol of reunification, linking the grand avenues of East and West. Besides the gate, there's now little evidence of the killing zone that cut Berlin in two for nearly 30 years. It's one of the Cold War's cruel ironies that a crossing that once cost a life now costs only a train fare. And that the freedom sought so dearly by some is now easily available to everyone. The heart of Berlin for both East and West is the Tiergarten. The 3 square kilometre park serves as a bridge between the two halves of the city, running from the Brandenburg Gate in the east to the epitome of the liberated West, the Kurfürstendamm, West Berlin's most fashionable avenue. And this is where you'll find KaDeWe, Europe's largest and perhaps most opulent department store. There are 45,000 square metres of sales space here. That's 1 Olympic and 2 football stadiums. And nearly 6,000 of those square metres are devoted solely to food. You should come here to marvel at the display, even if you're not hungry. 400 varieties of bread, 120 different oils and vinegars, 1,800 kinds of cheese. It's already well out of hand before you even get to the cakes. Naturally enough, this sort of consumerism has no match in the East, whether in cakes or cars. But East Berliners do pride themselves on their guardianship of culture. And in the new spirit of unification, they seem anxious to shake off any image they might once have had of being somewhat stiff and severe. This concert, out of the stuffy halls and into the open air of the East Gendarmenmarkt, is now the kind of thing you can stumble across on a Berlin summer evening. The young musicians here of the Jeunesse Musicale World Orchestra are from all over, and Australian trombonist Cameron Malouf has no doubts about the East's big attractions.
The culture, all of the wonderful buildings, and especially since the walls come down now, we can see all of this. It's fantastic.
And it does seem to be the streets of East Berlin, Unter den Linden, Mark-Engels-Platz, that attract the crowds these days. Every corner appears to be hosting a festival of some sort, spilling out and tumbling over each other in an excess of high spirits, as if to finally forget the divisions. The Berliner Gauklerfest, that's Juggler Festival, has a cast almost as international as the orchestra. It's a performance that goes on into the night, lighting up East Berlin in a way unthinkable a few years ago. Berlin has carried a reputation for extravagant nightlife for most of the century, but recent history has favoured the West in this. Now it seems as though the East is strutting its stuff and daring the West to catch up. The performances may not necessarily be high culture, well, not in the standard meaning of the phrase anyway, but there's no doubt they have a long and illustrious past stretching back far beyond the memories of this century. Prussia's great 18th century ruler, Frederick II, also had a well-developed sense of the decadent. The statues that adorn his summer palace in Potsdam, just outside Berlin, depict not heads of state, but various states of drunkenness. Frederick called this little retreat in Potsdam sans souci, no worries, which gives you some idea of what he might have had in mind for it. This is Frederick II's new palace, thrown up after the 7 Years' War to convince his bankers he was still solvent. If he wasn't bankrupt when he began, he must have been close by the time he finished. As part of the standard fittings in the late 18th century, the palace comes complete with mock grotto. The walls encrusted with strange decorations of shells and stones, the Rococo ordering of nature. And the Rococo's not quite dead. Your $5 entrance fee entitles you to the use of these fine slippers. And the answer to one of the great questions, how do they keep the place clean? Still, it's hard to imagine Frederick schlupping about the place in carpet slippers. Perhaps that's why he spent most of his time in the comparative coziness of Sanssouci, away from the hurly-burly of contemporary Berlin. Today you can find rewards in both. History seems to have completed one of its great circles, bringing together the old and new, the East and West, in a reborn European city. For Berliners and visitors alike, the wait seems to have been worth it.